Yeah, a lot of memories there, Dee Dee, especially the one about your green hair. What color is your hair? Really? You are Norwegian, right? Sort of. Well, it's wonderful to be here today and to honor Mom. And certainly it's a sad day for all of us to say goodbye to a wife, a mom, a grandmother, or a great-grandmother, but really this is a celebration, as Monty said, of Mom's life. I know she would want us to enjoy each other's company, to eat, have a piece of pie, and share wonderful memories of our time. So that's what we're going to do, or at least I'm going to try to attempt to. I know she's watching us now from heaven. She was a gift to us and to this world and returned home, a place where she's full of joy. And today, she remembers every detail of every event. This makes some of my stories a little more difficult, because if I stretch the truth, she will know. And then I'll hear that little voice, Bobby, or most likely, Robert Bruce. That's not the way it was. But here I go anyway. There's a lot of stories I probably shouldn't or can't share, and so I'm gonna try to stay away from most of those, but give you a small glimpse of those special memories. Back in the old days, during polite conversation, people would ask, "What does your mom do?" And you would reply, "She doesn't work." This obviously meant she didn't leave the house every morning to a place of employment. Well, I'm here to tell you Mom worked every day, every minute. Taking care of her family, cooking, cleaning, driving us around from one thing to another, she worked. Volunteering at school, bringing my lunch that I forgot, greeting us when we came home, and working late every evening, even after she tucked us in. 5 kids were a lot of work. It was a full-time job, and she took that job very seriously. A job that was challenging, and I'm sure that I personally created some of those challenges for her. But she always seemed to have things under control. We counted on Mom to be there for us whenever there was a need. Mom, you never failed us. You were always on the job. Not only did she take care of every detail for her 5 kids, but she had to take care of the big kid as well. This being, of course, our dad. She was also a caregiver to her dad, who lived with us for many years, Grandma Cora, and our elderly neighbors, and many others. Her service to family and others was her job, one that she never looked for thanks or praise for, or asked for anything in return. Maybe there was one thing that she asked for, and I think all you guys remember this. I can still hear her say, "All I want is for you guys to love each other and be kind to each other." She was most likely talking about me, or talking to me, wanting me to be a little bit nicer to my sisters. But she instilled in all of us service above self. So I want to just share some more specific memories with you at this time. Mom, I remember, and Dee Dee mentioned it, the mountains of laundry that you did for our growing family. I know that Craig and I were the only athletes in our school, and maybe in the world. When Mom packed our athletic bags in the morning, they were packed with pressed jock straps. Mom, you literally ironed everything, even our underwear. Mom, I remember the day that I had a large woodshop project due the next day. I also had a history test the next day. Obviously, I had procrastinated. You recognized this and said, "Follow me to the garage." As I sanded away on my project, you read me my history chapter and quizzed me until the late hours of the day, or night. Of course, my memory, Mom, is that I received an A on both those, the test and the project, but only because of you. Mom, I remember your pies. As many of you know, Mom was a great pie maker. The best. She could have easily been the best pie maker of all times. She loved to make pies for her family, and her pies were always the hit of the party. Just a couple years ago, I was on a business trip that brought me to Spokane. I stayed at Mom and Dad's for the night, and I was with a close colleague. Mom greeted us late in the evening as we arrived with a hot piece of her famous, fresh, hot raspberry pie. My colleague exclaimed that it was the best pie he'd ever had and talked about it often. About a year later, I shared with Mom that my colleague and I were again coming to Spokane and we were going to stop by. The first words out of her mouth, "I am making him a raspberry pie." I said, "You are making him a pie? You have met him one time. What about me?" That was the kind of person Mom was. She loved to serve people. Tell her you love her cooking and you'll never go hungry another day in your life. Mom taught us many things, and Mom, I remember you teaching us that doing dishes is fun. Dusting our bedroom is fun. Dusting the living room is fun. Making our beds perfectly is fun. Actually, all of these things I do today, I think it is because even now, at 39 years old, I heard Dad tell the paramedics out there in the lobby that he was 62, so I had to make an appropriate age. But the reason why I still do those things, because I worry if I don't do it right the first time, you are going to make me do it over again until I get it right. Mom, I think I even remember you checking my dusting with a white glove. Mom, I remember you convinced us that the color pink was okay. Okay for my sisters, yes, but Mom, what about us poor boys? Pink roses, as you can see. Pink dresses, pink everything. And many of you might remember the color of our house when we were young. Yes, it was pink. Being a teenage boy is tough enough. But telling your friends when giving them directions to your house, look at the pink house. But Mom, I wore a pink tie for you today. Mom, I remember you trying to discipline us. You got upset with us. But Mom, I gotta tell you, we were never really too scared. Sometimes you would spank us, but I gotta admit, Mom, never really hurt. But we would fake cry because we wanted you to think that we really learned our lesson, and we didn't want to hear the words, "Wait till your father gets home." Wait till your dad gets home. As you know, Mom overcame open heart surgery, a valve replacement, and was a survivor of breast cancer. Mom, I remember talking to you after your diagnosis of breast cancer, sharing it was okay if it was your time to go home. You would be going to a better place, and all would be good. I remember thinking that I was comforting you. I also remember you got very upset with me. You told me, it is not my time. Your kid, our kids, my kids need me, and you weren't going anywhere. Well, as you know, you beat it and stayed around for 2 more decades to help us. Mom, I remember the many famous foods you'll be known for, like red velvet cake, Valentine heart cupcakes, and those lamb cakes that you made for every child and grandchild's first birthday. Mom, I remember waking up on Sunday morning with the smell of a cooking roast or some feast. And as soon as we got home from church, we'd be able to devour it. Mom, I remember your homemade sauerkraut and pickles. They were the best. They can't be duplicated. Never will. Now I have to go to the grocery store and buy it. It's just not the same. Mom, I remember you were a great cook. But what about some of those other things that you made us eat? Like fish balls. What the heck were those white things in that white gravy? And rum balls. Sorry, Mom. Didn't like the taste of those, even though I know they were your favorite. But I did eventually acquire a small liking to rum. Don't worry, Mom. Not too much. I even remember a beef tongue in the refrigerator one time. I don't remember eating it. I wonder to this day how you disguise that one. And our veggies. We know they are good for us, but it always helped to close our eyes and plug our nose while eating them. Well, if you didn't know by now, based on all our food references, Mom was flat out a great cook and received great joy by cooking for her family and friends. It was very difficult for Mom when her family started to get older, go off to college, and finally move out of the house. For more than 2 decades, she was used to cooking for 5 kids, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, and whoever else dropped by. And we were never once short of food. She made big portions. So it was hard to cut back. She continued to make a lot of food, even though there were many less mouths to feed. Well, the recipient of all that food was Craig. And now you know why he continued to grow and grow and grow into the very, well, let's say, abundant man that he is today. She taught us many good things, but she taught Craig how to eat a meal made for many. He still practices those teachings today. What are you laughing about, Dad? You were part of the same program. Through the years, I've always teased Mom about who was her favorite son or favorite child. I would let her know that I knew it was me. She would always give that little laugh and make sure that I knew she loved all her kids, and they were all special. Usually at this point I'd say, even Craig? But on one of my last visits with Mom, with her memory fading, I grabbed the family picture. We started slow. I showed her a picture of herself and asked, "Who is this?" And she scoffed and said, "That is me." I went on to show her a picture of her dad. She proudly announced that was her daddy. I then showed her a picture of me. She looked a little puzzled, so I started over a bit. On the whiteboard that I was using to communicate, I wrote the word Margaret and pointed to her. I drew a line, then wrote body and pointed to me. She looked at me, but I couldn't tell if she understood. I was disheartened. My mom had left me. She wasn't sure who I was any longer. I was deeply saddened. But then I thought I would give her one more clue. I wrote the words on the whiteboard. I am your handsome son. Craig is your other son. Immediately, her eyes lit up. She smiled brightly. It was a very special moment. And even though she loved all her kids equally, in that moment, in her last days, she admitted that I was her handsome son. And Craig, I do have a picture of that moment. There are many special things about Mom, and many things that Mom taught us, and many great memories that we all have. But I want to end with one special memory that each of her children remember so well. Like 5 seconds left here. Each night before, we would kneel next to our bed before Mom tucked us in, and we would pray. Maybe you guys can help me out. Now, now I lay myself to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Mommy, good night.
Good night.
I know the Lord has taken your soul
to keep.
We love you,
we miss you, and we can't wait to see you again. Good job, you.